Hello, Chuck. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on. Appreciate it. Hope you're staying safe.
I hope the same too. So,
So, Chuck, tell us, introduce yourself. I'm Alberto, and Rupesh. We are the co-hosts, but we want to know a little bit about you, how you got into this field.
Sure. My background's a sort of a diversified background, one dealing with the private sector, the public sector, academia, and media. And currently, I'm adjunct faculty at Georgetown University, where I teach emerging technologies, and also I teach cybersecurity graduate courses too, which is really very fulfilling for me. But I've been in industry for many years, working on some of those same issues: the cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, other things in nanotechnologies, and etc. And I also served in government early on. I was one of the first people that helped set up the Department of Homeland Security when it was established. And I worked at the Science and Technology Directorate. And prior to that, I worked almost a decade working for a United States Senator named Arlen Specter in Pennsylvania, doing security and technology issues primarily for him. And I do a lot of writing. I'm a regular Forbes writer. I'm a visiting editor of Homeland Security Today, and I write and publish a lot. And I really enjoy the world of emerging technology and cybersecurity.
We have a common background, by the way, in what you just said. Specifically, I mean, there you are at Georgetown with the brightest, youngest college students have to offer in terms of ideas, and that needs to be very satisfying.
That is why I said earlier, it is the most satisfying role I had. Seeing their minds work, how they learn, and how they've actually adapted into the new Industry 4.0, how they're looking ahead, and how they're all grew up on computers. When I grew up, I didn't have that luxury. I had an electric typewriter, was considered a luxury. And this is really an exciting time, I think, to be a human, because you're really at an inflection point in history where technology is really being mastered.
not only this, but the source of information during your time was basically just other people. But today, the source of information is the entire world on my screen. So that is a lot of things when it comes to learning.
Data is everywhere. And I think social media has a lot to do with that too. You can really find anything you want by going on LinkedIn or any of these other groups, where you can find experts, you can find really informative works. All the academic things are now linked, and there's just so much information and so much a reservoir of interesting topics out there. You could spend a lot of time when you're quarantining learning things.
Yeah, let me ask you a question. Going back to our main theme, you can give one word command to a self-assembly AI. And just so you know, I was talking with Rupesh before, right before, and I was saying, somebody have given us why, somebody have given us a listen, etc. But you have your own word.
Yes, my word is altruism, and the reason I picked that is because we can create things, and unfortunately we may create things that could do great devastation. There's a debate going on among scientists. I know Elon Musk is very fearful of what AI might do, and of course there's all kinds of topics relating to bias. So I figure that if we're going to really start looking at how we're not at that juncture yet where we're going to be dealing with independent sentient thinking artificial intelligence, but we have to think about it because it's not that far down the line. And what I would think is you really want to have some sort of focus for the good, and altruism is for the good of mankind. You don't want a scenario again where you have going back to the movies of Hal in 2001, deciding who lives and who dies. I think you really want to program the belief system and have it very fair, equitable, and looking towards the benefits of mankind rather than looking at how you can improve your capabilities and efficiency on everything. Keep it balanced.
Okay, well, think about it like altruism. That. Altruism is the word. Okay, now we're gonna call your artificial intelligence. Chuck's artificial intelligence is altruism. Altruism AI. Okay, and now altruism AI, two questions in here. Number one, what it will happen when it digests all the negative information, whatever you want to define negative information, in the internet? Because sooner or later it's going to get there faster than you think. And then the second question is, how altruism AI will deal in terms of what is not fair, what is not even between human and machine.
Yeah, very good questions. I mean, starting with the first part, it is difficult because there is so much fake and negative topics and stories out there that they're done by by a lot of them are by bots, done by process automation. So they're coming out there. They're not quite, they're more machine learning with artificial intelligence, but still they permeate a lot of what we read and see. So it's harder to discern that. So I think it would come down to, if you're doing the computer and that super intelligence, when I'm talking about artificial intelligence, not just basic machine learning, you'd really have to do it in a sort of a cooperative area, where you have some of the best minds working on it, much like you do with now the COVID-19, using computers to find cures. And so I think you start at the initial phase of what we're going to be looking at how we can benefit mankind and where we could find solutions for health, solutions for energy, solutions for anything we do, and primarily focused also into smart cities, which are rapidly evolving right now, where you control everything.
How would you initiate that? How would you initiate that conversation? We know that COVID-19 it goes because it was a pandemic. People were getting sick and dying and whatever. I mean, I hope we don't wait that long to be talking about artificial intelligence that people are dying.
Yeah, you put a good question. I mean, how do you initiate? It's difficult. I say it's not easy. It's got to be the subject of international diplomacy, of academia, and of course the leading tech corporations that are actually building these capabilities. From the Googles to D3, whoever working on quantum computing, and everyone else. And it's not easy because we've shown it as humans we have not a good track record. So maybe artificial intelligence could do better than we're doing. But I think it's one of the issues, and I know there's been a couple studies at MIT on that, where all of a sudden artificial intelligence starts going down the wrong path. Usually it's because of the programmers, but and again, it's more machine learning than artificial intelligence. They sort of get biases in there. So I don't know if you could ever foolproof it, but I think you could build some common precepts where mankind could build together and work, looking at where they're going to focus, and maybe have this artificial intelligence limited to working on problems of the day, rather than looking at how to build better weapons and how to do other things.
Yeah, and keeping the word altruism in mind, the AI which is going to have altruism as the pillar is selflessly going to think about each and every being around itself, then itself first. So the factors of greed, the factors of, wanting materialistic things, or factors of power, those things would just go out of existence if we think about it like that. And that is the beauty of the word.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at utopia, basically, right? So it's difficult to get to. We haven't got there yet, but I think we could build in limitations to what we shouldn't be doing with artificial intelligence, keeping on the sort of the altruistic path, looking where we focus our resources and money, just like we supposedly don't build, biological weapons that can destroy the world right now. We shouldn't build artificial intelligence that will also do the same thing. So I think we need to do that in some sort of global arrangement, and just, it's going to be difficult. It's a huge challenge. But if you keep in the word altruism in mind up front in everything you do, when you're really building a super intelligence, it's going to be at least helpful and beneficial down the path that people are learning, and the people are being trained in it to follow. I mean, there's
something, Chuck, I love to finish the podcast with that word, altruism. The altruism AI. As a matter of fact, I think it opens a lot of questions about what is altruism and how altruism will be, and I have one of the questions, one last
Sure.
question. Altruism is, and I love that because it's very positive. Does altruism will mean the same in North Korea at the government level that they could create an artificial intelligence, and they created with the name Altruism AI in North Korea? Do you think it will mean the same thing as Altruism AI Chuck?
Yeah. No, absolutely not. And I think in altruism comes the right of human dignity and freedom, which is lacking in North Korea and lacking in a lot of other places in the world. So I think you have to define that. I think as early what is good. It's not good controlling the people, and it's not good limiting ideas, and it's not good developing in greed and hoarding everything so your people are starving. So absolutely not. North Korea, and hopefully they'll never get it, and hopefully they will not, or better off, maybe they'll change and there'll be a new regime in there, like there'll be in some of the other places in the world that will look, the world is changing. Technology is made in sort of a better for everybody. It can be equitable, and there's no need to really be a dictator anymore. But that's wishful thinking, but that's altruism too.
And with that, with altruism, we're gonna finish this podcast. Couldn't think of a better word, and hopefully is the guiding light as consciousness is arise in artificial intelligence in a way that we can recognize, which is one of the things that scares me too. But anyway, Chuck, thank you very much. Invite all your friends. I'm sure we're gonna need to talk about this again, because this is what I imagine, like you, this is what you talk about. My wife tells me that's the only thing you talk about. The only people you talk about. Yes, I've been doing this for 27 years. So, Chuck, thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
You're the best.
My pleasure. Really enjoy it. Thank you very much, and stay safe.
You too.